Today's reading is 1 Samuel chapter 3 and chapter 4 verse 1a. This is a lovely story of the child Samuel sleeping and running to answer his master Eli's call in the night, only to realise it was God calling him in that gentle, well-known voice. A story we all learnt in Sunday school, if we did such a thing as children. It reminds me of a story in the Narnia books by C.S. Lewis. Lucy wakes in the night to hear someone calling her. She hears a familiar, beloved voice, and at first she can't think who it is in her sleepy state. Then she realises it's Aslan, and she's delighted, and she goes to meet him. So far, so lovely. And as the children were lost, it felt like everything would now be all right. Hooray. But just as in Samuel's story, it wasn't that simple. Lucy had to go and wake the others, the older ones, and convince them to get up and follow her in the dark. They would not be able to see Aslan. They didn't believe her. There were arguments and tears. Unkind words were said. Eventually, they complied with a bad grace. And eventually, they gradually realised that Lucy was right. They gradually became able to see Aslan in front of them, and they found the way. Samuel had to deliver a horrific message to Eli, the worst possible message. He and his sons were going to die, punished for their corruption. Samuel loved Eli, who was like a father to him. It must have broken his heart to pass on this message. Mercifully, Eli recognised the justice of the message, and he accepted it. Meanwhile, Samuel had learnt to recognise the voice of God, and was able to listen to that voice and follow its guidance for the rest of his life. And he was recognised by others as a prophet. He had credibility in the eyes of the people, who could tell that he was in tune with God. Samuel, of course, went on to anoint the first two kings, Saul and David. I wonder how well we recognise the voice of God and who we expect to hear it. Samuel was young, a child. No one would expect him to have a special revelation of God. Do you remember how Jesus took a child on his lap and said, "Become like one of these to enter the kingdom"? Or how he used to refer to the disciples as "my little ones"? One day I was teaching a church toddler group, and I took them to the high altar rail, and I asked them if they knew what happened there on a Sunday morning. I was leading up to a bit of teaching about the Eucharist. One of the children said, "Jesus comes here." I was speechless, actually. Talk about the rug being pulled out from under your feet. What else was there to say, really, about what happens there on a Sunday morning? "Yes," I said, "that's right. Jesus comes here."